You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I'm back. Rodrance for Black and White Sports. Well, there's been a long line of wokesters over at ESPN, the worldwide leader in woke. And among them, almost nobody is as woke as one Bomani Jones. Now, Bomani Jones kind of got his start going on the Dan LeBatard show, and as we know, that turned into a Bomani Jones radio show, which was a complete failure. The ratings sucked. Now it's a podcast. Well, ESPN's been cleaning house lately, right? Kenny Mayne, Rachel Nichols, Maria Taylor's gone. Yeah, and we found out the other day, of course, Stephen A. Smith had Max Kellerman moved off of First Take onto some show that's destined to fail, I'm sure. And now, word has it, Bomani Jones is not long for the company. Very quickly, I'm wearing our Defund the Athlete shirt. Robo letters. Yeah, you can grab this bad boy out of our merch store right now, 25% off. Use promo code ESPCNN. Let's get to Andrew Marchand of the New York Post. Bomani Jones' ESPN run is all but over, but he'll have options, and I'm sure Meadowlark is among them. Bomani Jones and ESPN are expected to part ways. Post Sports Plus has learned it is more of a matter of when, not if. Big money. ESPN has been scaling back on salaries. Jones previously had a 3-year contract that averaged more than $2 million per year, according to sources. In Jones's next contract, which was agreed to after high noon, that's his show he started with Pablo Torre that failed and was canceled. See, nobody wants social justice issues in its sports. Nobody wants to hear your woke bullshit agenda, Bomani Jones. And guess what? Nobody watched, so they canceled your program. ESPN cut Jones's salary to a little more than $1 million per year on a 2-year deal. That contract expires in March. There is no departure agreement yet, but it would be shocking if Jones remains. If ESPN were going to keep him, it would have kept Dan LeBatard's old show, Highly Questionable, on the air and made Jones the host. He was a co-host along with when Dan LeBatard was still around, and of course Poppy. And Bomani Jones came on the Dan LeBatard show forever. That's kind of how he got his start. They would have him on there so he could give his woke takes because, you know, Dan LeBatard didn't like to talk about actual sports, even though his show was supposed to be about sports. ESPN announced a new digital show called, quote, Debatable, which is produced by, pardon the interruption, around the horn, highly questionable head honcho Eric Reinholm. In a video preview of the new social media program released last week, most former highly questionable contributors were involved, but Jones was noticeably absent. The trend, Katie Nolan announced last week she is no longer with ESPN. The John Skipper All-Stars, John Skipper, the cocaine cowboy, who used to be the head over at ESPN, now has Meadowlark in a partnership with Dan LeBatard. By the way, Jamel Hill's over there now. I would guess that's probably where Bomani Jones will end up. The John Skipper All-Stars are nearly all on the way out. Michelle Beadle, Jamel Hill, Michael Smith, LeBatard, and his friends have all left in recent years. Skipper departed ESPN in 2017. His number 2, Connor Shell, left earlier this year. They were the duo behind promoting the all the Skipper All-Stars. Tori and Sarah Spain, God, they're a bunch of woke morons over at ESPN, are the main 2 Skipper All-Stars remaining. Jones's future, he is expected to have options. Bomani Jones, 41, has a relationship with the HBO as contributor to Back on the Record with Bob Costas. I also could see Showtime making a run at him. His podcast, Right Time with Bomani Jones, has gained some traction. Wow, okay. He could team up with LeBatard and Skipper's Meadowlark Media, but I doubt it would be a full-time role. Maybe a podcast there, but the usual suspects, Spotify, etc., likely would have interest as well, because you can suck and still have a platform over there. In the meantime, Jones will continue his podcast and remain on, quote, Around the Horn as a panelist. It has not yet been determined whether he will leave the company before his deal is up in March. Clicker conclusion, Jones first wrote for ESPN as a 23-year-old back in 2004. He expanded into TV and radio, becoming a regular on Around the Horn a little more than a decade ago. He had his own TV and radio shows and received seven-figure salaries. Jones may have fallen short at the final level of ESPN stardom when his program with Torrey did not succeed, but given ESPN's spotty track record for developing new opinion voices, all in all, it was a pretty good run. Was it? Was it? Okay. ESPN's biggest successes, in terms of relative unknown who became nationally relevant, was plucking Cal Hurd from the Northwest to replace Tony Kornheiser on the radio in 2003. You could put Stephen A. Smith in there, but he had been on Fox Sports before ESPN. Scott Van Pelt could be put in that category, but he was on the Golf Channel previously. Hill and Michael Smith were homegrown opinion personalities, but their runs, while noisy, were short and ended unceremoniously. And we know why. John Skipper was the reason why that didn't work out. Okay, he created Woke Center. When ESPN went super woke a few years back during the Colin Kaepernick debacle, he decided the show was going full social justice and it was going full woke, and he gave Jamel Hill and Michael Smith famously that 6 o'clock prime flagship sports center, which they directly run right into the ground in the ratings. Now, make no mistake, I mean, Andrew Marchand was trying to be nice here about Bomani Jones' track record, but the fact is his radio show fell right on its ass. The fact is, without Dan LeBatard, highly questionable, wasn't very good, okay? And I always felt like Bomani Jones was riding Dan LeBatard's coattails anyway, and his days were probably numbered the moment that Dan LeBatard flew the coop. Now, John Skipper's over there and Dan LeBatard, you can almost guarantee Bomani Jones is going to have something to do with that company. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll run to Bob Costas, who's lost his ever-loving mind to leftists too. The fact is, Bomani Jones wouldn't stick to sports. And that's been a problem over at ESPN for years now. They tried to right the ship, and then George Floyd happened, and it all went off a cliff. Bomani Jones is one of the head wokesters that sports media has been dealing with for years, and he is one of the reasons, one of the prime examples of why ESPN's ratings have plummeted. Dude, talk sports. LeBatard, talk sports. Bomani Jones, talk sports. Stick with sports. Unfortunately, they've ruined their reputation. People just don't want to listen to them now because they know their feelings on everything from social justice to Donald Trump. And you're not going to keep paying a guy like that when, frankly, you're unlikable. And that's part of the problem. Bomani Jones is unlikable, so many of those people are unlikable. And at the end of the day, whoever you're watching on TV need to be kind of likable. For example, Mike Golick is with Pro Football Talk now on Mondays along with Mike Florio together. Guess what? Mike Golick is still great at his job. He was great on Mike and Mike. What is Mike Golick? Likable. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.